Global War 36 enthusiast here with Operation From Russia with Love, turn 7.5, Commonwealth. It is July 1939. Commonwealth has two tech rolls. First I tried for radar at a 7 or higher, PBE generated an 11, so I succeeded and I advanced to stage 3. Second, I tried for improved construction at a 7 or higher, PBE generated a 2, so I failed. Let's go to purchases. Okay, with Great Britain, I have 33 IPP. I purchased 2 infantry for 6, 1 artillery for 4, that's 10, 1 anti-aircraft artillery for 4, that's 14, 1 fighter for 10, that's 24. I construct a rail in Sudan on the border with the Belgian Congo for 4 because it's on a jungle border, that's 28. And I begin construction of a fortification in Lower Egypt for 5, bringing me to 33. With FEC, I have 19 IPP to spend. I purchase 1 militia for 2, 2 colonial infantry, these guys are 4 each, 2 colonial infantry for 8, that's 10, 1 artillery for 4, that's 14, and I'll lend lease 1 Gurkhas to the KMT for 4, bringing me to 18. I save 1 IPP. For Anzac, I have 11 IPP to spend. I will purchase 1 militia for 2, 1 infantry for 3, that's 5, and I'll begin construction of a fortification in Sydney for 5, bringing me to 10. I save 1 IPP. That's my 3rd fortification I've started. You can tell Axis players respect. I've got 1 fortification to try to oppose Panzer J, 1 fortification to try to oppose a Board Gaming Bro, and 1 fortification, where's my other fortification? No, I'm sorry, Panzer J, respect. Sorry, Hambo, no fortifications to oppose you. There are 2 for Panzer J and 1 for Board Gaming Bro. All right, if you remember from last turn, if there are 2 countries that are neutral to each other, but they could come to be at war, you have to follow 9.1 and move your units during combat movement phase. So all of the following moves were texted to a Board Gaming Bro, and move by move, he made a decision about whether or not he wanted to declare war on me, and he declined to declare war for each of these moves. Okay, from Maharashtra, 2 heavy cruisers and 1 destroyer leave port into I-7, and they move 1-2 into C-Zone I-5. I'm going to have the Saudi Arabian desert there be a little bit of expansion of I-5 for a moment here. From Lower Egypt, 1 battle cruiser and 3 heavy cruisers leave port to C-Zone I-5, so they'll join over with these guys. I don't know about you guys, but I'm almost out of in-port markers. From Gibraltar, is that on? Yeah. 1 naval transport leaves port into C-Zone M2. He declined combat. Then I pick up 2, or he declined to declare war. Then I pick up 2 infantry. And a Board Gaming Bro and I agree that at this moment he couldn't declare war because he declares war when I move into the C-Zone, and he declined. Then I pick up those troops. That doesn't require me to move into a new C-Zone. So anyway, let me know in the comments if I've got that wrong or if you think that there's some other interpretation of that. Then this naval transport goes 1-2 over to M8 and drops off 2 infantry in Lower Egypt. All right, and then goes into port in Lower Egypt. From C-Zone I-5, 1 battle cruiser, 5 heavy cruisers, and 1 destroyer move into C-Zone, that was a disaster, M8, and then they'll go into port here in Lower Suez. That worked out pretty well. Okay, I think that's, oh no, there's still 1 more move, which is this destroyer in Malta goes out to sea. It leaves port is the right phrase. And it moves over to M2, and then it goes into port here in Gibraltar. That is the end of the moves that I reviewed with a Board Gaming Bro. Let's look and see if I've got I've got a few other combat moves. They're way up there in A7. I'm going to convoy raid the North Sea line again with those 2 submarines. And in A35, this fighter is going to take off, go on map in Sea Zone A34, and then it's going to be joined by this Anzac destroyer 1, 2, 3. Try to kill that sub. I know, Boss and Bruce, you didn't want me to bring the destroyer, but I want to kill a sub. So, and anyway, we'll see. Maybe he'll get a hit. Boss and Bruce just wanted me to go for the sub with the fighter. I just want to increase my odds of hitting that sub, but maybe I end up getting that destroyer killed. From London, 1 medium bomber flies to Paris and conducts strategic bombing against that miner factory there in Paris. And that is the end of my combat moves. We can now proceed to combat. Let's zoom in a bit. Okay. Hopefully this is not too much zoom. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to rotate this down a little bit more to, yeah, there we go. We got the whole dice tray now for sure. Hopefully that's not too out of focus for folks. Let's do the submarines. So I get a +2. The red die is the attacker. Here's the first roll. Okay, well that's all I needed. The max damage I can do to Hambone is 2 points of damage in Sea Zone A7. So he drops from 72 down to 70 with the Germans. Paris. This I'm a little bit nervous about. My good friend Hambone, we both, last game in Thunderball, both of us on our first strategic bombing run lost our bombers to the AA, so a little bit nervous about that. Here's the one at 6 to see how much damage I do. 2. Kemp. All right, so, but I'm gonna be happy as long as I don't lose a bomber to do 2 stupid points of damage. Okay, great. That's good. No, he missed. He rolled a 10. Now, got this fighter and destroyer. The blue is the fighter at 6, and the destroyer is the yellow at 4. Well, Bruce, it turns out you're right. I didn't need to send the destroyer. Now let's see if I pay the price. He gets a 1 at 3 with the sub. Nope. That's interesting. Rolled 10 both times. Just want to make sure this... Okay. Sorry, I'm just worried that... Was that die off or something? I think that's the end of my combat movements. Now, let me get... I had to get 2 sets of papers, or 2 sets of orders, because I didn't know if I would kill that sub in A35 or not. All right, so one non-combat is that fighter is going to go back to the carrier in A35. In Sea Zone A18, just sorry about this delay. I had 2 separate orders, and I want to make sure I'm doing the right order. So this guy is going to come off destroyer or escort duty and go 1, 2 up to A3, Sea Zone A3, the one with the Greenland, the Danish Straits. From Sea Zone A19, 1 destroyer is going to move down to A44. 1, 2, 3. From Sea Zone A20, 1 British light cruiser, or that should be light carrier. Is it? No, it's a light cruiser. 1 British light cruiser, this guy, is going to go up to A3 and join that other guy up there. From Sea Zone A20, the light carrier, the tactical bomber, the Anzac light cruiser, and the destroyer. All these guys are going to move down to A44. From A6, is A6 on camera? Yeah, maybe we go up here and zoom in a little bit more. Make it a little easier. Okay, up there in A6, one light carrier with a fighter and one destroyer are going to move over to A3. From A6, one torpedo boat destroyer will move to A23. From A6, three battleships and one torpedo boat destroyer will move to A23 and go in port in London. Need a little import symbol. I definitely need to do a disposition at the end of this turn. In London, is that? Oh yeah, that's totally on camera. Okay, 4 militia, 3 infantry will move. No. 4 militia, 3 infantry. Yeah, that's what I said. 4 militia, 3 infantry. So that leaves 1 infantry behind. Let me chip that out. So 3 infantry in southern England. And then this 1 militia that was there in southern England is going to go to northern England. From London, this air transport is going to pick up this infantry and fly to Gibraltar. Let me see if that is on camera, the Gibraltar situation. Oh, of course not. So the air transport flew that infantry down and dropped him off in Gibraltar. Now we've got from Paris, the medium bomber flies back to southern England. Well, I don't know if I said this, but from London, I'd also like to move over an anti-aircraft gun and a fighter. I might have said that and just forgot to do it. So I moved over 4 militia, 3 infantry, AA gun, fighter. All that's in London right now is a fighter. Okay, let's go over to Poland. And let's talk for a second. So in Global War 36, it's totally common that in the early part of the game, the Soviets and the Allies work together to try to slow and eventually stop the momentum of the Axis. And then in the late game, there's friction between the Soviets and the Allies. For example, in Operation Thunderball, when it became apparent that the Allies were losing, Hambone cut off. No, it was me. I cut off. I cut off Lend-Lease to the Soviets up there in the Soviet Arctic line, and I think maybe that was turn 14 or so. It was late in the game, and things started to fall apart. Whereas early in the game, Boston Bruce and I had been working pretty seamlessly together. But Silk has so much experience in this game, and he's such a strong player that he's prepared to say, like, okay, I am ready to predict that this is me inside Silk's head. He hasn't said this, but Silk is saying the Allies are going to win this game, and I need to help the Axis gain momentum to try to stop the Allies from being so powerful. So here in turn 7, he lend-leased this submarine, which I've named the Silky. I don't think you can see. Maybe you can just barely see that that's the Silky. And I'm going to keep track of it because Boston Bruce taught me last game. It's good fun to keep track of certain units like last game I totally messed up and I didn't move this destroyer and transport when I had the possibility. I just forgot they existed, even though America got to 35 IPP. So now I've put all these markers around it to try to help nudge Bruce in case he gets to 35 and remind him. But so let's keep track of that sub and see like how much damage it does to me or how much it helps the Axis. And let's keep track of this medium armor. So why are we going to keep track of that medium armor? I had been planning to move these 2 infantry into Warsaw, and I would have had 8 infantry and 2 militia in Warsaw. That infantry class units defending in cities, if they roll a 1, they get target selection against vehicles. So I assume Hambone would bring those 2 medium armor into the attack on Warsaw, and I would have had 10 at 1, which basically the most likely outcome of those 10 dice would be one of them would be a 1, and I would kill a medium armor. So I'm not going to do that because of this sub. I want to have a proportionate response. Silk sent the Germans 10. I'm also going to essentially let this armor live, give the Germans, I said Silk sent 10, he sent 6, and I'll be letting that armor live, which is cost 6. So let's watch that sand-colored armor later in the game. All right, so from East Poland, 2 infantry moved to Lubelski. From Warsaw, 6 infantry, 1 cavalry move to Lubelski. So in Warsaw, there are these 2 militia. All right, now let's look at C-Zone M8 down here off Egypt. I moved one of those naval transports from Gibraltar. The one that was there to start the turn is going to use strategic naval movement to move into M8 and move over to Gibraltar and go in port. So let's talk about that. There's an interesting exception that if you're doing strategic naval movement, then a player that's neutral with you can't declare war, can't use that just to stop your strategic naval movement. So that's why I'm using one of my strategic naval moves to make that move. This coastal sub from M8 is going to move to M9. Okay, let's go down to Southwest Africa. That probably is not on screen. Okay, let's rotate the camera down a little bit more. See if we can capture it then. There we go. Okay, so he is going to fly from Southwest Africa, just 1 over to Cape Town. I think there's nothing else in Africa. So now we're going to go over to India. We're going to do another one of those strategic naval moves. From Maharashtra, this naval transport will go will leave port into I-7, and then we can't zoom in for this one. This is going to be a really long move. Okay, then it's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go into port in Gibraltar. Oh, I forgot. I didn't remember that. I want to move one of these naval transports. There was one that started the turn there. It is going to go up 1, 2, 3 and go into port in A21. Is that? Oh God, I'm sorry guys. You can see I moved that naval transport up to A21. All right, let's go back to India. From Maharashtra, 2 infantry will move to southern India. From Calcutta, I'm going to pull out of Calcutta 5 infantry, 3 Anzac infantry, 1 Gurkha, 2 artillery, and 2 anti-aircraft artillery, and they will move to Bengal. That will leave behind 4 infantry, 1 anti-aircraft artillery, and 1 motorized. From Calcutta, I've got 1 more strategic naval move that I can use. This Anzac guy will leave port and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to M8. Oops, you can't see that. Let me count that again. He left port into I1. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then goes in port in Lower Egypt. Okay. What is next on my list? I swear Commonwealth is just the most logistically complicated. Okay, I think all I've got is 1 infantry in Queensland will strategic rail move to Sydney. Respect, Panzer J, I'm scared of your Caroline Islands force there. So let's go on to placement of units. In Sydney, I'll place 1 militia and 1 infantry. And I'll begin construction of the fortification in Sydney. In FEC, for FEC, we will build an artillery in Calcutta, and we'll build a militia and 2 colonial infantry in British Malaya. So with colonial infantry, the most you can build is the IPP value, and it can't be home country, and it has to be originally possessed. And so the colonial infantry meet all those criteria and in supply. Well, pretty sure it's in supply. That one, I'm just going off the top of my head. And then the max number of militia I can have there, since it's not home country, is 2. Okay. Now we have to lend-lease this Gurkha. It'll be built in Burma and lend-lease over to Yunnan. So add that guy to the stack. Now we go to Great Britain. Let's look at Cape Town. We need to rotate that back down. So I've made it so stiff to rotate. All right, what did I build down there? One artillery. That's what I'm building in Cape Town. And I got that rail that is built here. And I'm going to go mark that I have African colonialism. I think off the top of my head gives me more rail, but it comes, place units comes after non-combat movement, so I can't use it this turn. And I think there's nothing else here. Oh no, I'm placing the fortification. I'm going to build that on the border between Lower Egypt and Western Egypt. Right now on the build queue, there's 4 fortifications. I haven't seen that before. Okay, and then up in Britain, we've got a build. We're going to put 2 infantry, an anti-aircraft artillery, and a fighter into London. I do hardly anything on my turn, but it takes forever. Apologize to the viewers, apologize to my opponents. Okay, I think that's the end of placement of units. Now let's collect income. Oh, that's not the right sheet of paper. Great Britain collects 28, plus 3 for possession of Lower Egypt, plus 2 for Iran being neutral. So that brings me to 33. Oh, that's interesting. That's what I started the turn with. Okay, then FEC. FEC collects 14 plus 2 for Aden and Lower Egypt. And then I had saved 1, so I'm at 17. And then Anzac collects 7 plus 2 plus 1 saved is 10. Okay. Turn 7.6, Free France. I have 0 IPP, I purchased nothing, I have no combat movement, non-combat movement. I've got 3 naval units I can move. This battleship is going to move 1, 2, 3 to A21 and go in port with the naval transport. In Sea Zone A21, this destroyer is going to come off escort duty and move here to A23 with that torpedo boat destroyer. And down in I-5, I've got a French sub that joined the Free French. It's going to go 1, 2 up here to M9. I didn't have to ask a board gaming bro because he can't do anything to stop me. He can't declare war. Let's see. Collect income. I get 3 IPP, and then we are definitely going to do disposition of forces. All right. In Sea Zone A7, I have 2 submarines. In Sea Zone A3, I have a light carrier with a fighter, a light cruiser, and 2 destroyers. In Northern England, I have 2 militia. In Southern England, I have 4 militia, 3 infantry, 1 fighter, 1 medium bomber, 1 anti-aircraft artillery. Plus, there's a French battleship and naval transport in port. In London, I have 2 infantry, 2 fighters. In port, I have 3 battleships and 1 torpedo boat destroyer. In Sea Zone A23, I have a French destroyer and a torpedo boat destroyer. Okay, in Sea Zone A34, I have 1 Anzac destroyer. In Sea Zone A35, I have a light carrier with a fighter, a light cruiser, and 2 destroyers. In Sea Zone A44, I have a light carrier, an Anzac light cruiser, and 2 destroyers. In port in Gibraltar, I have a coastal defense ship, a destroyer, and 2 naval transports. In Gibraltar, I have 1 militia, 3 infantry, 1 mountain, 1 air transport. Off camera, down in Cape Town, I have an infantry, an artillery, and a seaplane. Let's go over to Suez, or Lower Egypt. I have 8 infantry, 1 militia, 2 anti-aircraft artillery. In port, I have 1 battle cruiser, 5 heavy cruisers, 1 destroyer, 1 British naval transport, 1 Anzac naval transport. I guess we're done with that. Over to India. In southern India, I have a militia and 2 infantry. In Calcutta, I have 4 infantry and artillery, and anti-aircraft artillery, and a motorized infantry, and I've started construction of a fortification. Same thing, fortification's been started in Lower Egypt on the border with Western Egypt. In Bengal, I have 5 British infantry, 3 Anzac infantry, 1 Gurkhas, 2 Anzac artillery, 2 anti-aircraft artillery. What am I doing with this? Why is that guy? Oh, that was my Lend-Lease, sorry. That was my Gurkha was standing on that, so that is not KMTs. Down in British Malaya, I have 2 militia, 2 infantry. And then down in Sydney, off camera, well, maybe I can get that on camera. Ugh, not without rotating. I have 2 militia and 3 infantry, and I've begun a fortification. That is a very long turn. Thanks so much for watching. Next up is a Board Gaming Bro with turn 7.7, Italy.